Buenos días, queridos alumnos de Cela Spanish School Online. In today's video lesson, we explain the difference between tan and tanto in Spanish. This video is part of the material from our online Spanish courses for self-study with teacher support. The explanations and examples are aimed at levels A2 and B1, but you are welcome to watch the video even if you have less or more Spanish knowledge. As always, I will not translate the examples. They are examples with simple vocabulary. We think it is important that our students try to understand without translating too much, as many mistakes come from translating from English. Translating is always work twice. There are many things that have no equivalent between the languages. Nevertheless, I recommend you to write down the sentences you would like to look up in the translator. Often we have to watch the explanatory videos several times because they contain important information and learning is repetition. This video is also available in Spanish. I recommend that you watch the video in Spanish as well. Comenzamos. Tan is an adverb. And what is an adverb? An adverb is a word that tells us how the action of the verb is done. For example, dormir tranquilamente. How do I sleep? Tranquilamente. Tranquilamente is an adverb. Adverbs do not change. Tan is always tan. But we don't use tan with a verb. We use the adverb tanto, which we will explain next. We use the adverb tan in Spanish to reinforce an adjective. For example, no me gusta el clima tan frío. Frío is the adjective for clima. In Spanish, clima is a masculine word. It is an exception because clima ends in a and is not feminine. In the description of this video, I will give you a link to a video about the rules of recognition the gender of words in Spanish and the exceptions. We use tan and tanto to compare. The comparison can be implicit, as in our example, no me gusta el clima tan frío. We don't say what the comparison refers to. It is in our head, maybe tan frío como en España, or tan frío como aquí, or the comparison can be explicit as here. Los tomates son tan caros como las zanahorias. Here we mention what we are comparing, las zanahorias. These explicit comparisons are not so common in everyday speech. They sound like something from a grammar book and unnatural. Los tomates is a masculine word and the adjective is caros. We emphasize it with tan. In a few cases, we use tan with another adverb, especially with adverbs of time such as temprano or tarde and modal adverbs such as bien or mal. Let's look at a few examples. No es bueno irse a la cama tan tarde. Llegué a la cita tan temprano que tuve que ir a tomar un café. In this sentence, we use que and not como because a whole sentence follows that explains the consequence of llegar tan temprano. I will say more about this in the last part of the video. John habla el español tan bien que puede pasar por nativo. In some expressions, we use tan as a kind of superlative, like here. ¡Qué día tan bonito! ¡Qué familia tan feliz! ¡Qué tipo tan extraño! Conclusion. From a grammatical point of view, we use tan with an adjective or an adverb. The word tanto can be an adjective or an adverb. When tanto is an adverb, it refers to the verb and tells us how the action is performed. It does not change in number or in gender. Let's take a look. No sé por qué hablo tanto. The subject is yo, first person singular. Now, let's put the verb in the plural. No sé por qué hablamos tanto. The subject is nosotros, the first person plural. Tanto does not change because it is an adverb here. This is a test you can do if you are not sure whether a word is an adverb or an adjective in a sentence. You put the verb in the plural form. If the word does not change, it is an adverb. If tanto is an adverb, it comes after the verb. No sé por qué comes tanto por la noche. Here, the comparison is implicit. Comer tanto in comparison to what I consider normal. Mi hijo menor come tanto como mi hijo mayor. Here, the comparison is explicit. If tanto is an adjective, it refers to a noun. In this case, tanto changes in gender and number according to the noun. For example, no entiendo para qué tenemos tantos platos de plástico. Los platos is a masculine word in the plural. Therefore, tantos. Tantos platos. No hemos tenido tantas clases esta semana. Las clases, tantas clases. Mis padres no tienen tanto dinero. El dinero is a masculine word, therefore, tanto. Tanto dinero. En este examen no he tenido tanta suerte. La suerte is a feminine word, therefore, tanta suerte. In summary, verb plus tanto when tanto is an adverb, and tanto plus noun when it is an adjective, in which case tanto changes according to the noun. As always, we will now do a few exercises. After the exercises, I will give more information about the use of como and que in sentences with tan and tanto. We use tan, tanto, tanta, tantos, and tantas according to what we have explained. Hoy no tengo tanto calor como ayer. El calor is masculine and a noun. Tanto is an adjective. Therefore, tanto. No me gusta tomar la sopa tan caliente. Caliente is an adjective. ¿Cómo está la sopa? Caliente. Therefore, tan caliente. No entiendo por qué mi hija tiene tantos zapatos. Los zapatos. Here, tanto is an adjective and refers to los zapatos. En esta época del año, los pasajes de avión no son tan caros. Caros is an adjective, so we use tan to emphasize it. No me gusta levantarme tan temprano. Temprano is an adverb of time, and we emphasize it with tan. Tenemos que tener cuidado de no gastar tanto. Here, tanto is an adverb and refers to gastar. ¡Qué pregunta tan interesante! Interesante is an adjective, so we use tan. No comas tantos helados, te vas a enfermar. Los helados, therefore, tantos. Ya no estamos tan contentos en este apartamento. Nos vamos a mudar. Contentos is an adjective, so we use tan to emphasize it. Muy bien. I think the difference between tan and tanto is now quite clear. In this channel, we have a video in which we explain the difference between adjectives and adverbs. I will put the link in the description. Now, let's take a look at some more examples of comparisons with tan and tanto. We will explain when to use como and when to use que in combination with tan and tanto. Here we have two sentences in which we have tan and tanto in a comparison that I have called explicit. We mention what we are comparing. Mi hijo no es tan alto como su padre. I am comparing my son to his father. Alto is an adjective, So I use tan and como. Los boletos de avión cuestan tanto en julio como en septiembre. I am comparing julio to septiembre and using como. Often, what we are comparing to is not mentioned. I have called it implicit comparison. This also happens in other languages, including English. Here are a few examples. No sé por qué estoy tan cansado. Perhaps in comparison to normal. But I don't mention it. It is not necessary. Hoy no hay tanta gente en la playa. As usual, but I don't mention it. These sentences are the most common in everyday life. Here are a few examples of comparisons with tan and tanto with que. Los boletos de avión se pusieron tan caros que no los podemos comprar. After que, we have a whole sentence in which we explain a consequence. Ahorramos tanto que finalmente pudimos comprarnos la casa. Here I also have a sentence after que in which I explain a consequence. But attention, tan mucho does not exist in Spanish. I often correct this mistake in our students. It is a translation of so much, but so much is tanto in Spanish. On our homepage, we have an article about tan and tanto with further exercises and solutions. I will put the link in the video descriptions. In our online Spanish courses for self-study with teacher support, we have further exercises on this and other topics. That's for today. Nos vemos en una próxima clase.